So my name's Glenn Locke. My business is Mount Caramber Apiculture. I'm based at Nana Glen on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. We run about 100 hives, so I'm a beekeeping minnow in general terms, but that keeps me going, mainly honey, a bit of consulting and a bit of education.
My name's Leif Andersen. I'm a beekeeper from Taree in New South Wales on the mid-north coast. I predominantly run 500 honey hives with 200 nucleus colonies on the side. We predominantly produce honey, and I am a second generation beekeeper.
My name's Mike Allerton. I have a small bee company called Aussie Mike's Bees, and I just produce honey on site where I live. I live on 3 acres of pristine bush. I produce about 500 to 700 kilos of honey a year.
I found my first mite in the National Park, north of Taree, and the first time I found one, my heart stopped. That was a very sickening day.
Well, the biggest cost was I lost all my bees, and so I produced no honey for the last year. I decided not to re-establish colonies until this year, this spring, and I've just started and they're nowhere near ready to produce honey. It is a big hole in the product. Yeah, everything about Varroa means more time in the hives. It's labour intensive. I'm using mechanical rather than chemical methods.
Probably monetary costs have been minimal, so if you work the way I'm doing things, organic treatments, mite trapping in drone combs, and maybe a synthetic treatment at the end of the season, probably looking at, $25-30 a hive.
The costs associated with Varroa mites, I'm allowing $10,000 a year for my size operation to control mites using a mixture of synthetics and organic and mechanical treatments. It's more so the time cost to me. It's the cost of time away from family to go back and do the job once you find mites, and the extra time out there on the bees when you should be at home with the wife and the kids.
So my costs to treat Varroa is a bit different to most people who are treating. Because I have a hypothermia unit, I was up for a massive capital outlay. That was about $6,000. But my reasoning for that is that I will spread the cost for however long we've got to treat Varroa for. So I don't have to go ongoing expense for new chemicals every treatment. It's just that one high capital outlay, then no more real costs beyond that.
The cost for a lot of beekeepers will be time and wages, and just that extra work that goes into managing Varroa, finding queens before you do a wash, monitoring, keeping records. I think that's where the real costs are going to come into Varroa. Yeah.
We're not using any extra labour to do mites. We're doing the whole job while we're there, but it's adding an extra half hour to an hour extra work per day per load of bees. So management costs have impacted my business by having to have the synthetic miticides and the treatments on hand. Without those in the shed, you can get caught out very quickly because the mite levels can increase exponentially very quickly.
My size business, 100 hive, it's maybe added $2,000 or $3,000 onto my physical costs of miticides and green combs. That, yeah.
Extra costs associated with mites are going to synthetic treatments, also in new frames for mechanical treatments.
Well, I guess my budgeting has been the capital outlay for the Varroa machine, the hypothermia machine, so my ongoing costs are just the time that I put into it.
With the added costs of mites to the business, we have downsized and restructured the business so that it is more streamlined and that we don't have any excess equipment that we don't need, so that we're channeling all of our funds into control, monitoring and management of the mites.
I think in reality, particularly in our high reinfestation period, you just got to have a lower number of hives. Because of that extra labour involved, you want to be looking after your bees to keep them in optimal condition, and you won't be able to do that to the same level you could pre-Varroa.
Once we get back into a stable phase with mites. I think it'll just be that extra cost of running that business, and I don't see they're going to get higher and higher. In fact, I think once things stabilise, those costs should even out, and it's just the cost of doing business with bees. So yeah, I don't see too many problems with that.
With the downscaling, it actually made me work the bees that I had better. So I work on the principle of less is more at the moment. So less bees doing a better job. I'm actually producing a higher yield per hive than I was in previous to Varroa mites getting to Australia. With forward budgeting in the business, we have allowed for the extra mite treatments on an annual basis, and we have reduced in other areas where we were spending money excessively into putting it back into mite treatments to keep the bees alive. Because without the bees alive, I can't make an income. So if you don't put the miticides in there, the bees will die. And we may have to look at other avenues of income to prop that up, or we may have to cut back on other areas of expenditure. I'd like to think that the costs would be more stable so I can budget a lot better for it and have adequate funds there when needed to be able to buy the treatments on a regular basis and have them there so that you've always got treatment in the shed ready to go is probably the most critical part of the whole thing. If you don't have it and you need it, it can be a really bad problem.
I think the reality is that you've got to pass on the cost to the consumer. The consumer has to realise the value of the product they're getting. And so we are way undercharging for our honey as it is. It's world-class honey, we need to be charging more.
You hear about people cutting strips in half and using half strips and those sort of things, so skimping with costs will cost you in the end, so you really need to be on your game and do your treatments properly and have well-trained staff looking in your hive and running that business for you, so you can't skimp on the costs.
I do believe that having mites has made me a more savvy beekeeper into respects that I look at the costs associated with things a lot more in my business now. I look at where my bottom line is and where I can afford to take from other parts to be able to afford these treatments to keep the bees alive. I believe that it's going to make beekeepers more aware of what they're spending and how much they're spending on their business, in respect that I'm not losing all that extra equipment by having too many bees and having hives die out. It is manageable, you can control it, you just have to think logically about how you're going to do it and know your options, know the treatment plans, know how to use the miticides and the PPE properly when you're using some of these treatments.